You can only eat so many cookies in a day. Well, it's going to take me the remainder of the day to eat this plate. I need milk stat. Hi, Rory here from the Florida Academy of Baking. I've been left alone and unsupervised, so today we're going to make chocolate chip cookies. So I'll show you all the tricks and tips to make my relatively famous chocolate chip cookies, and how you can get consistent standards all the time, and how they're delicious with some milk. Well, everything we need for chocolate chip cookies. First, we need butter and sugar, so brown sugar and white sugar. And essentially, they say eat it till it's light and fluffy, but essentially incorporate it and make sure the butter's soft. Most important. Next thing I want to get ready are my eggs. So I need 2 eggs, 1 egg yolk and 1 egg. So room temperature eggs, very important, because things won't incorporate well if it's cold. And the butter is soft, so you want to keep the butter soft. So if you put in cold eggs, the butter will harden and it will just make it a little bit more difficult to incorporate everything. And that's why you want nice and fluffy, and always scrape the bottom of your bowl, because sometimes some dry sugar can get at the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so we start it again, and then I'll add the eggs one at a time. Or maybe I'll add them both. There we go. We'll let that incorporate. While that's doing that, we're going to get our flour ready. So we need a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. Now I have to go way over here out of the way, because I need to get my strainer, because we're in a very warm, humid climate, and particularly with baking powder, you have to sieve it, because what happens is you get these little hard lumps, and if they go into your cookie, what will happen is they'll bake and they'll become really black and bitter, and it just is an unpleasant thing to be biting into when you're eating a chocolate chip cookie. Don't have to worry about that as much with baking soda. A quick wipe, and then I'll do my salt. There we go. Put these away. Get my other egg in there. And then I'll just mix that in, and then I'm going to add my oatmeal. And again, just combine it all together. Just doing it this way means you don't get clumps of stuff when you put them into the mixer. So again, want to make sure everything's incorporated. I'm going to turn it off, and you can just tell the different consistencies of your mix if it hasn't all incorporated. So that's pretty good. Okay, so the only other thing I have to add into that is my teaspoon of vanilla. And if you want, you could also add these in with the eggs as well. And if you really like vanilla, you can go up to a tablespoon. It's all down to your own taste. Just something, when you see lots of mix on your paddle, if you want to get it off, just turn it up really high and it'll clear everything off it. Again, make sure that's everything's, yep. That is good to go. So now we're going to add in our flour mixture. So what I generally do is I put in about half of it and I'll add it. And you want to do this gently because if not you get a big puff of flour. So in and just let it incorporate there. Happy as Larry. And then we can just gently add in the last of our dry mix. And you can see now we have wet and dry. What I'll just do now is I'm going to stop it for a second and I'm going to get those bits, dry bits at the bottom, just lift them up. Because you want a dough that you can actually handle. You don't want to have it too gooey because we want to add in our chocolate chips. Okay. And that's perfect, and lovely smell off that. So now we want to add in our chocolate chips, and you want to incorporate your chocolate chips. You're not mixing them, so you want to add in about half of them. Slowly stir it and then add in the remainder. If you overmix them, what happens is you'll break the chocolate chips down and you'll just end up with browner cookies because you've broken down all those little bits of chocolate rather than keeping them whole. So the goal is to try and keep them whole. So essentially we're incorporating them. And I actually take the thing off. I'll let the mixer bounce up and down when it does that. Want to slowly incorporate them. I don't mind it bouncing a little bit because it's getting them all together. Okay, there we go. Got a good mix. So now what we're going to do is just going to put the bowl and the mix into the fridge for about 10 or 15 minutes. And what we want to do is we just want everything to harden because we want to have consistent sized cookies. So what we'll do is we'll roll them and cut them, and the dough would just be a little bit too soft to work with. So every time we would cut the cookies, otherwise they would end up just getting smushed. See, I need a drink in my trailer.
Get the camera.
Oh. Okay. And then the most important part is clean up after yourselves. And it's easy to clean as you go as it is to leave all the dishes till the very, very end. And you have a nice couple of minutes now where everything can be washed, everything can be wiped down, and you don't have to have a dirty kitchen. You know who you are, the dirty kitchen people. Okay. So, two things that you can change the recipe with. You can put on the blast freezer and nobody can hear you talking. That's one thing you could do. You could add extra vanilla if you like more vanilla, or you could swap out vanilla for another flavoring. So if you like strawberry, or you have another extract, you can try that. Also, what's really nice with these is salt, particularly if you have a nice flaky salt. Just before you go to bake them, you can actually sprinkle over them, and the salt and the chocolate goes really, really well together. Or if you like that extra salt, you can do like an extra half a teaspoon of salt as well. So there are my tips of the day. I don't like when people scoop cookies because it doesn't matter what type of cookies they are. They all look the same because the dough covers what's inside. So I think it's always better to roll your cookies and cut them so then you can see exactly what's in them. So if you have different flavors of cookies, you don't have to point out one is what flavor or the other, you can actually see if there's berries, chocolate chips, peanuts, whatever in them. You can actually see them that way. And then they store much better that way as well. And then you can bake them straight from frozen. So I would always have cookies in the freezer. So these are 2 ways I will keep cookies in the freezer. So these are unbaked. And this is what I mean. I roll them, bake them. You have little pucks there, and they can go baked straight from frozen. Depending on what your oven is, I do with ours 325 for 11 minutes, which is very precise with these. Some domestic ovens, if you don't have a fan, you probably go to 350, and it can take 11 to 12 minutes. They're baked, if you see the underside of them are brown. And these are the cookies baked, and these are a much bigger version of the cookie. But I don't have to tell you what type of cookie that is. You know it's a chocolate chip cookie because you can see the chocolate chips because of the way they've been cut. And again, the cookies also freeze fantastically baked. So it's a very versatile thing to have and a very handy thing to have in your freezer. By the time these have thawed and ready to eat, these will be baked. So it's if you have an oven to hand, just go with the unbaked ones. There's nothing like warm cookies coming out of the oven, particularly if you have some cold milk. So we clean a work surface. This is our cookie dough. You can just pop it out. Always have a bowl scraper handy. You don't want to miss out on any of the lovely cookie dough. Now, this is not cookie dough that you can eat. If you want to eat cookie dough, firstly, you wouldn't put eggs into it, and secondly, you would want to cook the flour. So, and you can still see it's a bit doughy. So when you're rolling, if you just kept rolling, what will happen is the dough would just break itself apart because the chocolate chips will rub off one another. So what you want to do is press and pull back. So you kind of press it, and then you're letting the roll, which I mean it sounds like our knowns unknowns, but it's when you're doing it, it makes sense. So I'm going to put these on, and they'll have to go back into the fridge again because the butter is still too soft, but it's easier to, they'll cool quicker like this than they will like this. And then see, sometimes you just need to take a bit of that because the cookie dough is going to stick to the bench. And see, spread the fingers out and then let it roll. I'm not pressing it, I'm just rolling it. Because if you press on it, it'll just come apart. And as long as we're in the kind of the right ballpark of the diameter we're looking for, we'll just leave it at that. It doesn't have to be super accurate. They're cookies, they're not rocket ships. You see, that's the chocolate chips rubbing off one another. They can easily come apart, but just keep persisting. And I know, Angela, we have the blast chiller on, so I'm going to just put them in that little. So
if you don't have a blast chiller, how long would you recommend putting them in the fridge for?
For about 30 minutes. So it's just think of it's butter essentially. So it's putting butter in till it's, you can cut it without it squishing. And that's really what you're trying to do. It's just that when you go to cut them, you want to make sure that the butter is hard enough that you can actually cut them, that you're not going to squish them. because there's no point. You're wasting your time doing all this stuff if you don't actually see the chocolate chips when you cut through, if you just squish them down on themselves. Waiting for a star to fall. So we just have to wait. So with the magic of television, no, I won't have hair. But thanks for pointing out things that would make me very self-conscious. It's okay. I have feelings too, you know. These will be cool in a few minutes. Wow. Do you remember when people used to be nice? Okay, so with our cookies, our little sausages, and all we want to do is cut them into pucks. And you want to let the knife do the work. Probably still a little bit soft, but what we can do is, after we have them done, roll the whole thing up again, so we gather up all the bits that came off, and then we put them into our freezer bag and they go straight into the freezer. And you do want a sharp knife when you're doing this, because when you're cutting the chocolate little chips, again, so they've gone through, so all I have to do is roll everything back together. So what we might do is, I'm just going to put these straight into the freezer just to let them cool down a bit more, but I'll put the oven on and we can bake a batch of them off.
What would happen if you were to put them in the oven right now without cooling down more?
No problem, they'll bake. They'll probably bake about 60 to 90 seconds quicker. So I would set my timer for 9 minutes and look at them then. And again, it does depend on your oven. We have a commercial oven here. It bakes very, very quickly. But at home, that could be another minute or two, but they just bake quicker, basically. So that's your bag of cookies. That's from one batch. And, you know, if you like your cookies, that could be a week or two. And again, I like them because they make small cookies. You can fit them all in your mouth in one go. Okay, so we just take our cookies, the MR sheet pan, and you just want to leave them a few inches apart. So we have 24 cookies there, and we've all this left over. And we don't eat them yet. We wait. As soon as you're feeling brave, you can take a bite out of one. Cookies. That's how the cookies should be eaten.
Chocolate milk.
No. Chocolate milk is for Christmas. Regular milk is for the rest of the year. So, that's our chocolate chip cookies. Okay. Wow, it's good to see that I'm here for your amusement.
It's for YouTube.
Yes.
So yes.
Okay, I'm here for everybody else's amusement. We're a cooking and baking school here in Florida. We offer, I don't know what we offer. All the tricks and tips. Do all the tricks and tips. I'm not going to try and say that again.